TNKR Media.
And this is going to break your hearts. We are dumping in Canada anywhere between, this is a study I did with McGill, we're dumping anywhere between 600 million to 1 billion liters of milk on farm every single year. There's no plan to actually recover it, and frankly, they just like the system as it is. With fish and seafood, 90% of what we produce we ship, we export, and 90% of what we consume we import. It's sickening.
That's insane.
Welcome to the Salt Lake Podcast. I'm David McMillan with my co-host and business partner, Derek Damon. This is a podcast about restaurants, food, people, food issues, wine, farming, and our journey here at the new Grill Nature restaurant in Montreal's West Island, coming to you from the Marché de l'Ouest. Derek is here. What were the highlights from the last couple of weeks?
Last couple of weeks. It's been that long? It's been that long. Last week, I was very excited about Hawaiian pork. I'm trying to keep our tropical fruit spirit alive.
That was a solid dish.
It was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
Pork jowls, very crispy, salted pineapple.
Yeah, pickled salted pineapple. And didn't you talk about that one time on a podcast about salted pineapple and coming into Montreal? I don't know.
I am a giant fan of, as you know, tropical fruits and especially pineapple. I was tickled pink when I was a kid when pineapple became a regular occurrence at the grocery store, as opposed to something that we'd only see, a couple of times a year.
Or in a can. We were a big Del Monte family. We had the cans a lot.
I didn't mind the canned stuff at all. I still like it, to be honest. My mom makes this, I forget, a Bavarois? Yeah, she makes like a pineapple Bavarois in a beautiful crystal dish. It's quite delicious. We've got a big guest on tonight, so I want to power through our usual banter.
You were excited about liver. You were very excited about liver this week.
I didn't think, honestly. I'll tell you a quick story. When Joe Beef became really popular, that meant that we became very popular in the world, but we became very popular in the USA. So all of a sudden, my clientele changed from local, French Canadian, Anglophones, and French Canadian, whatever, like Montrealers. And that mix, you always have a little bit of Lebanese, a little bit of Italian, a little bit of Greeks sprinkled into the dining room. And once we became an American dining destination, all of the things that I love cooking disappeared from the menu, basically. There was no more liver. Duck became a hard sell, medium rare. Rabbit, forget it. Dead in the water. No more boudin, no more andouillette, no more liver, and no more rognon veau. But as we've been working here together over the last couple of months, I've had feelings in the room that there was men and women here that were not that it's a challenge, but that were hankering for I started hearing what's sad about restaurants is we can't get a nice slice of liver.
There were some rumblings in the dining room, yeah.
And after I heard that 6 times, I was like, let's get some veal liver in. And then I was shocked. First of all, the price of veal liver now, and how many damn phone calls I had to make to get it, right? Which was bizarre. So that went well. We sold 2 whole livers over 4 nights.
4 nights, yeah.
Which is shocking. And people loved it. Positive comments. We'll try the experience again.
And it's exciting. We had a vegetable on the menu.
Yeah. The customers should be happy that we you know what? And I'm going to get heat and grief. You know, the local young chefs are like zealots. They're like religious zealots. Uh, I don't care about local produce. I'll use it when it's amazing and it's easy for me to get. But French white asparagus, triple A, the diameter of a golf ball is better than any protein fished out of the oceans or farmed on four legs or two.
It's wild, huh? Two of them was 6 ounces. Two asparagus.
Two asparagus was 6 ounces, but also more delicious than scallops,
Yeah.
than wild scallops, more delicious than premium French chicken,
Mm.
you know? Uh, as delicious, maybe more, because of the naturality and the way that it makes you feel on foie gras. Like up there,
They're so good.
up there with a
So good.
slice of top tier foie gras,
Mm.
and then that, you know, like just very special. We have more this week, but then that'll be it. Next week there'll be Woody, and that'll be over, and then we'll be moving into
The green and all the different things.
but even like the top local, and no, don't get mad at me, but the top local green asparagus, like, suck. They're not good. They're
It's
like
more-
asparagus.
It's more exciting that it's local than it is quality consistently all the time, right?
I know, but it's just like they're asparagus, so they're not special, right? That's always what. Like, you were skeptical at my asparagus thing till I think you sat in a corner and ate one with hollandaise, and you were just like, "Went, dude,
Yeah.
that's
They're good.
I get it,
Yeah.
right?" We'll move quickly. We had a bit of crabs next week, I think. I think they start fishing crab on the 5th or 6th, from what I hear.
Mm.
So I would say I've got my fingers on the phone, and I've already spoken to a couple of suppliers. I want gigantic snow crabs.
Mhm.
I want them right away, and I would want them alive, and I don't want them cooked on this dumb boat because they don't know what they're doing. So that'll be soon. God, did you see those West Home beef? The West Home steaks I cut?
The short loins
No, the rib steaks. I cut them and I
on
vacuum
the
packed
new-
them at the refrigerator
on the new saw.
on the new saw. See
Yeah.
the marbling on those?
Yeah,
though?
they're fantastic.
We've got the food professor on. It's going to be wild because he needs to explain to me what happened with Canadian beef. Why am I getting like basically some of the best beef that I've had in my career, or had the pleasure of serving to guests in my career, for less expensive, all the way from Australia, than Canada AAA beef. What a sad. I can't begin to explain how low quality Canada AAA beef has become, and
It's tough to comprehend the price difference.
it's tough to comprehend the price, but even flavors off, tenderness off, marbling inconsistent, size of the eyes. We're
Inconsistent.
seeing terrible New York strips, miniature ribs, stringy fillets. And I feel like they've never been trying to market harder to me than telling me that it's a premium product when it's absolutely like not even closest.
Yeah, it's not the same.
The PI beef guys, whoever those guys are doing, like, maybe they're doing a very good job.
Mhm.
They're doing a really good job. So I'm going to move in to introducing our guest. So he's known on social media and in the world of media as the food professor. All right. Our featured guest today is Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. He's a visiting scholar at McGill University here in Montreal, Senior Director, Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University in Halifax, and the host of the Food Professor podcast. Sylvain, we're honored to have you on the podcast. I just want to warn you that you're an academic and we are two humble line cooks that have made their way into being chefs. And we're very busy. We work very hard in our jobs and our families and our farms. We're not the most well-read boys, but we've got questions and we've got observations and what's going on with food in Canada?
What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, David and Derek. It's a pleasure to be here. As an academic, I have the utmost respect for the culinary arts. I am the worst chef in the world. I'm not. I own brunch at home.
That's solid.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
That's
a
it.
crowd pleaser though.
Yeah. So beyond that, I'm just incapable. And my co-host of the Food Professor podcast, he's a real foodie, and he brings on chefs on our podcast all the time, and it's always a great pleasure to talk to them. And I have a lot of respect for industry, whether you're retail, processing, whether you're a farmer, whether you're operator in food service. I mean, I know firsthand how hard people in the food industry work, and my job as an academic is to honor that and to protect that as much as possible, because you don't have time to look at policy, you don't have time to understand the supply chain and what's going on with Iran and how President Trump is impacting food prices or not, or making sense of it all. It's incredibly difficult for people who are thinking from day to day or quarter to quarter. It's just so intense. I mean, the food industry is very, very intensive. So I always try to bring people back and try to understand exactly what is going on many fronts.
So what are supply management basics? And then I'm going to add, you can go on a long rant, but I've spoke many times about this machine, me, lives on sharp cheddar, like most good Canadian boys. Uh, why is what happened? Explain to me the supply management chain basics. Why am I paying $27 or $24 for 400 grams of cheddar when I can get 1.2 kilos of cheddar for $11.95 at the Hannaford across the border from my farm in the USA?
Yeah, you can't say that though. You're
It's
not allowed
true.
to say that. You're in Quebec. Come on.
I
That's
don't.
illegal. You can't really say that cheese is more expensive or too expensive.
It's insanely unaffordable to a point where
Yeah.
every week I experience anger at the grocery store. I do okay. Listen, I do okay. But I know like my dad was a college professor on a fixed income, and I know my dad can't afford that, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen things here in the West Island in the last 3 months uh, that are leading me to believe that approaching a real state of crisis. I've seen on two occasions senior citizens get um, sidelined by security at the Maxi in Dorval
Oh
and
my God.
also the grocery store here in Dollar des Ormeaux for simply stealing a package of hamburger steak, right? This isn't like I stole truffles, I stole foie gras, I stole a box of shrimp. This is like I stole the cheapest damn thing in the grocery store because I'm
Theft
obviously
by
hungry and I'm
desperation.
78 years old.
Yep. Oh no, it's an absolute problem for sure. And I was actually talking to a reporter out of Toronto this morning about this, and we often talk about the K economy, but if you go to a grocery store, and you guys are operators, you know this, there is a K economy emerging. And when we hear the term K economy, it's pretty simple. It's the erosion of the middle class, and you guys need a strong middle class to make a living. And right now, the erosion of middle class is allowing the poor class to grow and the rich to grow. And in the middle, there's basically fewer and fewer people. And so on the one side, you see grocers offering, like it's Easter weekend, for example, cheap ham, cheap turkey. Those pieces are actually quite affordable. They're actually priced basically the same as last year. But on the other hand, you have beef plus 13. You have lamb plus 8. You have well, we're talking about crab. Who can afford? You guys were talking about crab. I mean, who can afford crab if you're actually earning minimum wage? So you're seeing really people being forced to choose, and often they just can't choose. They're just forced into that one side of the K. And that's really what's happening. And when I hear the Prime Minister saying that affordability is not a problem in Canada, we're doing fine, I'm
It's highly
going,
insulting.
what data are you looking at? I don't see it. I see a lot
I
of
would believe
people.
like nobody that saw that, unless you're brainwashed by the Kool-Aid, can believe that that's a real thing.
Yeah.
We're not
And
getting a
so
break anywhere.
And so to go back to your initial question about the SM5 and supply management, I do see it as a problem. But again, as soon as I say that, as soon as I say that it is an interprovincial trade barrier, not allowing buyers like you guys to get a good deal, a fair deal, people are saying, no, we don't want to talk about that. That's really something we can't. That's non-negotiable. But if you actually eliminate the provincially based quota system, because Quebec, you guys are in Quebec, Quebec has its own quotas. So it sets its own price, own quotas. If you eliminate that and you nationalize the management of quotas, I bet you your cheddar or your milk or the cheeses that you buy will likely decrease in price, especially wholesale. Retail, it's trickier, but wholesale, oh my goodness. Pretty sure you would reduce the price of cheese, for example, by at least 20 to 30%, if not more, because you're encouraging competition. You'll see other provinces chime into Quebec, like New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. And right now, you have silos created by these provincial boards that are incredibly political. They're incredibly political. They don't want to talk about anything. They squash guys like me and say, oh, Dr. Charlebois is providing misinformation. What he's saying is wrong.
I'm a career chef my whole career. I can tell you with all honesty that, I know nothing about the cheeses of Nova Scotia, Cape Breton, New Brunswick, basically
They got
very
good
little about
cheese.
Ontario because no,
We
we've
don't
never, we don't, Canadians don't eat Canada. Just like the SAQ doesn't support the Canadian wine industry, I have never cooked lamb from Alberta in my restaurant, but I have cooked lamb from Colorado, New Zealand, Australia. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
What's wrong?
No, it is. And so when we say that we have 10 economies, we do have 10 economies. But if you actually break things up, my guess is that the average household would actually save probably anywhere around 1,700 to $2,000 a year on groceries, and the average household will spend about $17,000 this year. So it's a lot.
Wow.
It's a lot of money, really.
So
So
what act of civil disobedience do we have to encourage people to do to move to this?
it's. I mean, it's a tough game because honestly, right now, what we're seeing is a sector unwilling to compete. They're. I mean, let's face it. Now, there's $48 billion worth of quotas out there. I mean, they
Wow.
want to protect something. They want to protect wealth, and that's owned by about 9,500 farms, families. They're holding on to that, and they holding on to that because they know that if they keep the system untouched, they will keep that wealth, and they're dealing with politicians who absolutely do not understand the system at all. They don't. When I go to Ottawa, I'm actually back in Ottawa in a couple of weeks. I will interact with senators and politicians that actually don't understand supply management. For example, a few years ago, we actually compensated dairy farmers for losses due to CUSMA, the trade deal. Do you remember?
Yes.
$1.7 billion. Gentlemen, they're not losing a cent because of trade deals. Okay. So we basically took our money, taxpayers' money, we gave $1.7 million to dairy farmers. We overcapitalized a sector. Uh, and other sectors actually suffered. Pork, all the non-SM supply management sectors like pork and beef, and saw their farmland increase in price. They couldn't buy, they couldn't scale up. So it's been a problem for a very long time. But so to answer your question, why do we pay more for cheese and dairy products? It's simply because there is zero will to change anything in regards to provincial boards, and Quebec is probably the worst.
Wow.
Wild. That's crazy.
50% of all dairy farms in Canada are in Quebec, and Quebec has 20% of the population.
So when Trump comes along and he says he wants to sell dairy in Canada, it's normal that I feel that the feds and the libs are digging their heels in and they're putting their heads in the sand and they just don't
And
even
my
want to be part of that
position is
conversation.
exactly. My position has always been the same. Let's design supply management 2.0 based on our own terms, not on some tenant in a White House. Terms coming from a tenant in the White House who's not going to be there in a few years from now. But there is this refusal of doing anything at all, which is really unfortunate.
Incredible.
But I would say within the SM5, because you know that poultry and eggs are also supply managed, I'm less concerned about eggs and poultry just because they're actually more competitive and they're vertically integrated. Like companies like Burberry, it's a pretty darn good company. They understand the market pretty well, and frankly, eggs are priced reasonably in Canada. If you look at the US, egg prices fluctuate quite a bit. Here, they're pretty stable. So
I'll agree with that. Yeah.
so that you may say, I don't know how much eggs you use in your practice or poultry, but I would say those commodities are pretty well, and supply management does serve these sectors well. In dairy, it's a problem. It actually fosters mediocrity and inefficiencies, really.
And what's that doing for produce? Because I'm reluctant to buy broccoli without it being hollow. I seeing what's in the stores, it's pretty grim what's on the shelves. Nothing's bursting with life, nothing's full of color, or everything looks sad and tired.
Yeah,
And for the price we're paying is incredible.
Yeah, you guys are expert buyers. I'm not. So in fact, actually, I was quite surprised by your comments on Canadian beef. This is something I actually meet with the Canadian Meat Council all the time. I'm absolutely, if someone who would know about the quality of Canadian beef, it would be a chef. Absolutely. You work with the product, so you would know. You can actually compare without prejudice, really. I mean, you're there to serve a customer, and that customer needs to be happy. If you serve that customer a subpar product, that's a problem for your business. So basically, it's important to be honest with ourselves. And frankly, like I'm in Calgary right now. I mean, last night I went out to dinner. Guess where? In a steakhouse. I would never dare say that Canadian beef is subpar. I mean, I can't say that here, but we should be able to say that.
We should definitely be able to say it, and we should
It's
be able to
with
have
dairy
comparables.
products. I mean, do you guys use a lot of butter, Canadian butter?
I like Canadian butter. We do some things very well. I'm not going to just rain hell onto the system. I'll say that the chicken in Quebec, even the lowest of the low, okay, grocery store affordable chicken is delicious and affordable. I think they're doing a good job. I would love to see more competition at the grain-fed and organic level. I would love to see more competition within the organic level. I would like to see more affordability there.
That's
But
supply management right there, because supply management, supply management actually dictates protocols for conventional chicken. I remember working with Saint-Hubert, and Saint-Hubert rotisserie chicken, they wanted organic chicken forever, and they couldn't get enough. They couldn't get enough because they have hundreds of stores to supply, and they couldn't get the supplies because, well, the boards say, well, we'll produce organic chicken, but it's not really our priority. So you can actually buy from a private grower, and the price will be outrageous. So he couldn't be competitive. So he was never able to scale up his menu around organics at all, ever.
Good for him for trying, though.
Yeah, he's very much
It,
against Jean. I don't know if you actually know Mr. Léger,
we do.
Jean-Claude Léger. Yeah, he's a pretty. He sold, of course, he sold Saint-Hubert. I can't remember which company, but he sold a few years ago, and now he's retired. But he's very much against supply management because supply management is about equals. It's about producing the same thing over and over and over again and compensating everyone equally. That's the nature of supply management. So everyone makes the same amount of money. So there's no competition.
Right. That's why we see no movement. The brands are the brands and nothing changes.
In your world, you're trying to compete using commodities coming from a system that actually discourages or actually detests competition.
Sure.
So there's a point of friction there, philosophically.
Agreed. Yeah. The pork is good. I'm satisfied with Quebec pork and what's going on with Quebec pork. Also doing a great job.
Mm. What's the piece of meat that you use most often?
Beef is king.
Beef, still?
Beef is always king. Whether
And
it be
are you using more and more imported beef now?
we are
There's a
we
good
are
portion
using
of it. A very strong amount of our beef is imported. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the thing is I'm actually getting better price points out of the US and Australia and a higher quality product than I am out of Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'll send you price lists with notes if you ever want to see them. It's very interesting.
I'd love to see them.
Yeah, there's also
I
a
won't
gentleman.
mention your name, obviously, but
Yeah.
I'd love to see the comparison. And of course, people think cattle ranchers in Alberta walk on water.
No, there's actually a fellow. I won't say his name here, but I'll give it to you privately. And if he ever wants to speak to you on or off the record, I know I've met over this last year possibly one of the
He's very knowledgeable.
smartest beef
Right.
purchasers who purchases worldwide, with great insights on what's the hell's going on.
Yep. That's great.
What do we do
So-
to protect food supply in the future?
So yeah, I mean, basically, supply management is a point of contention for sure with our partners, trading partners. But obviously, what's important is that we actually keep manufacturing strong. I mean, that's the biggest problem in Canada. I think I'm actually giving a talk this afternoon in Calgary about the future of our food industry in general, and our weakest link is manufacturing. I mean, just look at beef; it's controlled by two foreign companies, GBS and Cargill, and they're right here in Alberta. So I don't know where you buy your beef, but 85% of the beef that is consumed in Canada go through any of the plants, either High River or Brooks.
Correct.
Basically.
And there's it's funny. Again, these are notes that I'd send you on the beef lists, but when I do get the beef list, 1 week, one product will be, let's say if we're dealing on New York strip, it's like they take turns at being $1 cheaper per kilo than the other every other week. It's like price fixing,
And
you
I have suspicions about beef, to be honest, and
Yeah.
I do think that beef in Canada may be overpriced because there's a part of the increase that we've seen the last 3-4 years that we can explain in the lab, but there's a part we just can't. Because we benchmark our prices with the U.S. and other places, and the U.S. Beef prices have actually gone up because inventories are so tight. But still, we are seeing higher than usual prices.
I think the Australians, just to paint a picture, New Zealand lamb is a worldwide product, right? They've managed to create a product that's available basically in every country worldwide. Halal, you name it, all the cuts. hyper monitored. It's a worldwide product, like Parmesan is, like Tabasco is, like
Yeah.
a few, right? Australia has a lamb program very much like that. But I believe soon we're seeing with that same kind of intelligence that they did with New Zealand lamb and Australian lamb, that they're going to come now with beef of a very high quality, a good price, as being a worldwide product.
The traceability they offer too.
Is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We're seeing.
Australia also did it for their mozzarella. Lots of pizza makers in the world use their Australian mozzarella.
Correct.
On all
Yeah. New Zealand butter is a favored.
I did get a phone call from a reporter out of Australia from ABC. ABC is the public Australian broadcaster. It's similar to the CBC here, and he actually sent me a list of beef prices in Australia. And Australian beef in Canada is cheaper than Australian beef in Australia.
Well, they say that about Canadian beef and Vietnam, or the
Yeah,
new countries of which we've started exporting to over the last 3 months,
yeah,
a lot cheaper than Canadian beef in Canada.
yeah.
We've seen that data, those articles.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I've seen that. So there's some disconnects here and there. It's actually not unusual to see these kinds of things because of contracts, and there's some skimming strategies to actually get into a market. I mean, you guys are in business. You understand all of these concepts. So there are cycles that need to be appreciated for products, but I do think that I'm concerned for Canadian beef right now because people have access to Mexican beef, Australian beef, and they're actually getting used to different price points, different quality. Will demand for Canadian beef be impacted over time? I don't know, but I do know that some people in the sector are questioning, are wondering whether or not there's going to be a long-term impact.
Also, just so you understand, like the Canadian beef high-end program is basically like a good steak at the grocery store. So for us to use that in a restaurant at a markup seems dishonest somewhat. So it's why we look for better quality products outside that
Of
realm.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the best beef right now in the world, do you think? I
People
have to
always
ask
talk
the
about
master.
the Japanese, beef, but I'll always defer to saying that the best beef will be like an eating steak. That's what we traditionally, or how we traditionally consume beef. Of course, the Japanese have broken the internet by showing us these heavily marbled pieces
the
of
potential of the fat and what you can get to, right? But that's not
yeah.
an eating steak.
They're not eating steaks. Those are sushi steaks. It's something that's a novelty. It's a small
Yeah,
piece you
exactly.
will eat as maybe an appetizer. You'll eat like a 1 or 2 ounce portion. So
Right.
meanwhile, eating beef at its apex right now would probably West Home Ranch out of Australia, and then a handful of others that are equally as
Oakley
good.
Ranch in Colorado was pretty bananas. That stuff was very nice.
Yeah. Creekstone out of US,
Yeah.
beautiful. We got some beautiful beef out of Guelph though, a few weeks ago. That was
Okay.
very special.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
But again, that was from our beef whisperer.
Yeah.
Beef whisperer.
But funny enough, they had that same beef in Vancouver. My buddy was telling me they were serving at the restaurant because he said, "Have you tried this new beef out of Guelph?"
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I'll have to read
I
more
think
about
that's
that.
the same thing. So maybe they got their hands on a little bit too. They deal in specialty beef as well. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, basically, supply management is a hot topic, misunderstood. What we've tried to do over the years is to actually get people to think differently, because the problem we have with supply management is that you have two camps. You have those who want to abolish the whole thing. They want to put a grenade in the system and just make it explode. Basically, they want it gone. But here's the reality, though. I don't think if you actually open up borders and you reduce tariffs to zero, like overnight, you would see the entire collapse of the dairy sector in Canada. It's just not competitive. Industrial milk prices are 40 to 60% more higher than in the United States. They would flood the market. And I'm not convinced that Canadians want that. I don't
I'm
think
not
Canadians
convinced.
actually want to eat and drink only American dairy. So we need to
No, I don't think so
preserve
either.
some domestic production. And I've had debates with Maxime Bernier because he's of the mind that just get rid of it. Just write a check, buy them out, gone. And I don't think it's a good solution. I think the practical solution is to keep the quota system, but make it stronger and better. We are dumping, and this is going to break your hearts. We are dumping in Canada anywhere between, this is a study I did with McGill. We're dumping anywhere between 600 million to a billion liters of milk on farm every single year.
That's
insane.
Yeah, there's no plan to actually recover it, and frankly, they just like the system as it is because they just dump and nobody sees it really. There's a tap in the barn. There's no cameras. You can't really, unless you go into the barn to see it. There was one farmer in Ontario a couple of years ago. He actually filmed himself dumping milk, and he dumped 30,000 liters, and he got into trouble
for sure.
because he outed this sector, and which prompted us to actually calculate how much milk is being dumped. And I've always argued that these are the kinds of things that we need to do a better job at. I mean, if we are to keep supply management, let's be honest with Canadians, tell them exactly what are the failures of the system and improve it while making the sector more competitive, for example. Because right now, you may wonder, why is your cheese so expensive? It's simple. They survey 250 farmers a year. They'll ask for the receipts. So how much does it cost you to heat your barn? How much does it cost to feed your cattle? How much does
I don't know any dairy farmers. I do know a lot of dairy farmers. My neighbors are all dairy farmers. I don't know any of them that are week to week rich. I know that they're land rich or land rich.
They're asset rich, cash poor.
They're asset rich, cash poor, and they're very unhappy. All of them.
So if you know a dairy farmer, the net worth of that dairy farmer is on average about $15 million. About.
Possibly, absolutely.
Yeah. But they're asset rich, cash poor. So that's why people say, well, farmers aren't rich. Well, yeah, they're not.
They drive
cash
rusty
rich.
cars, secondhand bicycles, and
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, so they get receipts. They count. So this is the Canadian Dairy Commission. It's a crown corporation owned by you and I. So it's a government. They calculate exactly how much it costs to make an hectoliter of milk and a gram of butter fat. They set the price every year, and and this is the price that they have to follow to compensate farmers. The problem with that system is that we don't know who they're surveying. Are they surveying farms of 60 cows? Are they surveying cows of 200 cows? As you can imagine, the cost to produce milk when you only have 60 cows is very different than when you have 200 and 300 cows. So we believe that the CDC, the Canadian Dairy Commission, is inflating the level of compensation to actually keep farms afloat, which makes everything else more expensive, including the cheese you buy. That's the problem. So instead of actually, going with averages, well, I've always believed the CDC should actually create a benchmark to force farmers to become more efficient and reduce the price of production or the cost of production gradually over 20 years to make it more competitive. So once we actually get rid of tariffs, when we have a bully like Donald Trump that comes in and say, listen, I want to sell more food, no problem, Mr. Trump, come in, because our prices are competitive. Right now, they're not competitive. We're overcharging for milk and cheese and yogurt and everything else.
Yeah, I have a lot of American chef friends that would love to get Canadian dairy into the US. Whenever my colleagues come from down south, they're always shocked at how delicious our milk is, how fatty our butter is, and
Yeah, no.
how gorgeous our chickens are at the grocery store compared to, let's
I
say,
just spent 3 weeks in Florida, and I honestly I don't have a problem with the dairy products in the U.S. I just don't.
me
I
neither.
think they're fine.
But I just think, let's say as a chef, little Lactancia Barcellet is a little bit better.
Okay.
But I did see some beautiful Irish butters in the USA. They've really
Oh,
done well with French butter. I've noticed a fair amount of very high quality
There's diversity
Italian
in the
cheese.
stores, huh?
Diversity in the store is
oh yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We only buy grass-fed as a
yeah.
family
But you can.
because the butter in Canada remains hard at room temperature. It drives me crazy. It's always hard. Always hard.
The grocery
Except
stores,
grass-fed.
there's a lot of misinformation on, let's say, the CBC or mainstream media Canada about the price of groceries in the US. I see people say, "Oh my God, it's so expensive. How can they afford it?" I go, "No, it's more expensive here. Trust me, by far. I've spent,
Yeah.
4 months a year in Florida for the last 5 years. It's more expensive here. Like by far. So that's what that is.
Higher
It is,
quality a lot of
yeah.
the time too.
Pardon me?
Higher quality a lot of the time too.
Absolutely.
In the produce.
Absolutely.
You
Produce,
have more variety.
unbelievable.
Yeah, when my jaw drops when I go to Publix. Oh my God, the
Great.
produce
That's
section
not
is
even high
just to
end.
die for. I
Publix
know,
is for the common people.
Bursting
I
with
know,
life and greenery and foliage and yeah.
I know.
$3.99 for a giant pack of super sweet white strawberries. Fantastic. They
Yeah,
quoted me the same
absolutely.
ones here for $28 last week. Imagine. It's a big jump. $3.99 to 28.
Absolutely.
That's funny. So what are we doing then? What are we doing?
What do we do to have a resilient domestic food supply?
Well, like first of all, we need to before we fix a problem, we need to recognize we have one. We're not even there yet.
Who's going to recognize that? The liberals or the conservatives?
It's actually it doesn't matter.
They both don't
Both
want to touch
parties,
it.
both
Don't
parties are. I mean, I talked to both, and both of them don't want to see. So, of course, right now the conservatives are all up in arms with the carbon tax, and there's some issues with inefficiencies and interprovincial trade barriers for sure. But the biggest problem I think is supply management, as far as I'm concerned, and how we've undermined manufacturing. To be honest, Quebec is actually not bad because it processes about 60% of all its commodities. All of that commodities grown in Quebec are processed in the province. It's the only province that can actually say that. And so that's an advantage to me. And it actually keeps prices. So prices go up, but they don't go like this, like us in the Atlantic or in the prairies. So it's actually not bad.
Interesting.
But I do think that at some point we need to focus on innovation. We need to recognize that there are some issues regarding bureaucracy. I met a CEO 2 weeks ago. Actually, it was 4 weeks ago now, I guess, in Halifax. He produces a food. I won't tell you which one, but he produces a food product only sold in the U.S. Why? Because he sells his product in 41 states in the U.S. because it took him 4 weeks to get approval to sell the product. When in Canada, it can take up to 15, 16 months for the
That's
same
funny.
product.
Do you know that how often when you run restaurants in Montreal and Canadian lobster is on the fresh fish list of Tuesday, how many of those lobsters were sold from, let's say, Nova Scotia to the Boston or New York fish market and then get shipped back up to Canada for us to buy?
Oh no, it's incredible.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's one of my favorite
Rackets.
It makes me sweat. But I get it for the fishermen. I do. Absolutely sell your lobster for $6-7 a pound US. Deposit it in your bank account
Yeah.
before it left the the processing facility. I wish it for you.
With fish and seafood, 90% of what we produce, we ship,
Yep.
we export, and 90% of what we consume, we import. It's sickening.
It's wild. There's fish on the endangered species list or that have no fish bans for multiple years. And I could make one phone call after this podcast and get 60 kilos of each in the restaurant by 7 p.m. You know, there's no fish
Incredible.
police. No
Incredible.
fish police.
No fish police. Something's fishy, but there's no fish police.
We'd like to thank you so much for doing our podcast. It means a lot.
Oh, my pleasure.
We're big fans of the work you're doing, the advocacy you're doing, also putting out all this information on a very steady basis. I have to admit, I love reading you. I love reposting you. You're fighting the big fight, and for us down here in the trenches, for real, we'll be shucking peas after the podcast today and peeling for us who sit here scratching our heads, I want to say one thing. What you said before, like that separation, the destruction of the middle class is something that's been bothering me very much. When we opened this restaurant, I'd been out of the business for like 3 or 4 years. Running my farm. I have a winery, vineyard. Anyway, when I came, I talked to Derek. I said, I really want to be able to feed everyone. It's very important that we write a menu that covers all price points. And in 4 months, I'm coming to the realization that it's practically impossible. And it breaks my heart a little bit when it was a big part of me coming out of retirement. I really do see the future of this restaurant as basically catering to the wealthy, and that my weird little dream about someone being able to come here and have a steak frit for $22 at the bar, or a chicken leg with mashed potatoes and some simply sauteed mushrooms is a pipe dream now, and it's tough to realize that. So to sit back and have to lean in to just like, let's buy the best we can and go for it. And here we are. We're catering to the wealthy now. It's a tough thing. Yeah.
You need to do what you need to do, but I would say stay resilient and work with the economics you're given. You can't really control everything. You can only control the quality of the food that you serve, and making sure that your business remains afloat. And of course, you guys, I've always believed that you guys are more artists than anything else. Keep on creating, keep on innovating. That's really what's key here. That's the most important thing, in my view, because you get some satisfaction in what you do, and the economy. When you look at food service, I'm thinking about your legacy, David, in particular. I would say your legacy has actually led to many younger folks to think differently about food, and that's how you actually get into new streams, and you get people to think differently about food, and that's always a good thing. That's a great legacy. And so for both you, Derek, and David, I do want to thank you for everything you do for all of us. I only look at numbers. That's all I do for a living, really. But you guys are making it real. You're making it happen. So thank you.
You're very kind. Listen, if you're ever in the area, let us feed you. Be a pleasure to meet you live. And thank you for your help today.
All right.
Thank you for answering questions. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
ThinkBait. TNKR Media. Good talk.